as a citizen of Nigeria. So on asset litigation today, we'll be discussing in what situation can a person's movement be restricted by the authorities. I mean, looking at it like authorities in the sense of, the government, the police, the force, limit the courts. Now those in authority, either the executive, the legislative, or the judiciary, what cases can they limit your movement or restrict your movement? Now, if you've been following us from the past series, we've been talking about our fundamental rights as a Nigerian citizen, and we've discussed so many rights. And so today's topic boils down on your rights to movement as a citizen of Nigeria. Your right to movement, and like I usually do, we are guided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes, the fundamental rights of a Nigerian citizen is embedded in the Constitution, Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution. So we've been taking a look at it. We've been going through the rights one after the other, looking at the exceptions, looking at just analyzing the rights. And don't forget to drop your comments, drop your questions, drop contribution, or maybe you have a story to share that we can learn from. You can also drop it. And don't forget to also give us a follow at Law Accent. Yes, Law Accent. Here we speak the language of the law to your understanding, for you to understand. So let's get back to today's topic. In what situation can a person's right to movement be restricted, or can the authorities restrict the right to movement of a person? Now, the general rule is this: every individual has a right. Let me read it here. Let me just read it here. Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part thereof, and no citizen of Nigeria shall be expelled from Nigeria or refuse entry thereto or exit therefrom. So the thing is this, Section 41 of the 1999 Constitution is saying, as long as you are a Nigerian citizen, you are entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria, any part of Nigeria, and nobody can expel you from your country. Nobody can refuse you entry or exit. I mean, if you're in Lagos, you want to go to Abuja, you can just pick up your bag, pick up your luggage, and you can move. If you're outside Nigeria and you're coming back into your country, nobody has the right to restrict you. And even if you want to leave, also nobody has the right to restrict your movement. You are free. It is your fundamental right to move. Now, that is the general rule. But our topic says, in what situation can the authorities restrict you? So it means that even in as much as we have the right of movement, right of freedom of movement, you can move freely throughout the country, any part of the country. You can exit the country, you can enter the country at any point in time. Even though, yes, this right is being provided for in the Constitution, there are situations where you cannot just leave the country or move freely. Let me just put it that way. The general rule is you can move freely, but there are some situations where you cannot just move freely. The authorities have every right to restrict your movement, and they are actually acting legally under the law by carrying out such acts. So you cannot say, oh, the police is restricting my movements now, it's illegal, my fundamental rights is being infringed upon. The question we need to ask in that situation is, what is the circumstances of the case? Why is the police restricting your right to freedom of movement? And we're going to be seeing some situations. Like I said, we are guided by the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that contains this right. So let's dig in. So in what situation now can the authority, the government of the country restrict your right to freedom of movement? Section 2A says, nothing in subsection 1 of this section shall invalidate any law that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society, imposing restriction on the residence or movement of any person who has committed or is reasonably suspected to have committed a criminal offense in order to prevent him from leaving Nigeria. I hope that is clear. It means the government, the courts, the authorities can restrict you from leaving the country if you've committed an offense or reasonably suspected. You're a suspect, you're under investigation, there's a petition against you, the police are investigating the case, and you are a key suspect or you are part of their suspects, or you've committed a crime and you are being charged to court. You cannot leave the country. It is an absolute law. You cannot. You are not going anywhere. You cannot do that. So another situation is providing for the removal of any person from Nigeria to any other country to be tried outside, or providing for the removal of any other person from Nigeria to any other country to be tried outside Nigeria for a criminal offense or undergo imprisonment outside Nigeria in execution of the sentence of the court of law in respect of a criminal offense of which he has been found guilty. So the thing is that in the case of trial, or where you have a trial, you have a trial going on, your case is in court, you cannot actually you can't leave the country. Your rights will be your rights will be restricted. Now another situation is, I hope you remember during COVID, right? During COVID, the government placed a curfew that nobody should move from so time to so time, like that. That's another justifiable reason why your right to freedom of movement can be restricted. I mean, it's for public safety, public health, protecting lives and properties. Your rights can actually be restricted in that sense. So a typical example, like I said, is the COVID situation. The COVID situation where the government placed a curfew that, okay, from so time to so time, nobody is allowed to leave the country. And it's constitutionally right, because even the constitution provides that the government is saddled with the responsibility of protecting lives and property. So whatever action, whatever measures the government has to take to protect lives and property has to be enforced. So you cannot say that COVID-19 was a way to COVID-19 was the government's way of restricting your right to freedom of movement, or the government took away your rights. Yes, the government took away your rights because of a particular reason. Like, it was glaring that we know how COVID spread. We know that closure to humans, communication, touching, like that, can spread the virus, and the government has to do everything possible to curb the spread of the deadly virus. So the measures they took was right and constitutionally legal in the real sense to stop the virus from spreading. So if you know of any situation, any legal situation, we want you to engage this post and drop your comments. In what other ways is it legal for the government of the country or the authorities now, in the general sense, to restrict your right to freedom of movement, and it is considered legal? Like I said, when you are a suspect, or you are reasonably suspected to have committed an offense, you will not be allowed to move freely like that. They will need you to stay because they're investigating, or you're on trial. Yes, when the court grants you bail and you're on trial, you can't leave that. You can't leave that state. You can't leave that state at that point of time in the course of your trial until your trial is completed and everything is settled. Then, like also mentioned, in the face of danger, in the face of for the reason of protecting lives and properties, a typical example is the COVID-19 pandemic, where the government placed the curfew and restricted people's movement. Even though, yes, it affected some people feeding and the likes like that, but we look at the greater picture, the greater good, the purpose. This is the purpose for this. So let me hear your thoughts on if you can think of any other situation where the authority has legal rights, legal justification to restrict your movement. Do let us know. And remember also, there's another one again, when they want to arrest you. Yes, arrest. I said, don't move. It has a restriction, right? Yes. I said, don't move. Why are you to tell me not to move? Yes, I'm telling you as an authority of the executive or a personnel of the police force, I am telling you not to move because I reasonably suspect that you've committed a crime. So when they say don't move, you don't move. You don't move. You don't move. Because, you know, when we are discussing the right to life, we mentioned that, yes, everybody has the right to life and nobody should be denied of his or her right to life. Nobody should be killed unjustly. But there are situations whereby you can be killed justly, and an example is when you're trying to evade arrest. You know, you've reasonably suspected to have committed a crime and you're evading arrest. Is in the Constitution. That's why we encourage people, or we advise people that when you are faced with the police, there is you have to be very, very wise and cooperative as much as possible with them. Be wise, be cooperative, and ensure you follow instructions. So we're going to end here for today. Let's meet next week again for another interesting topic or another interesting discussion. I appreciate it if you leave a comment. If you drop a comment, I asked the question, so I'm still waiting for my answers. So I appreciate it if you drop your answers, and let us see. Engage this post, share, like, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media pages. My name is Oluwatosin Isaac, and I will see you next week, same time, same venue, same location. Alright, have a nice day. Bye.